Hey, so we're back on Tuesday here. So, like I said yesterday, we're kind of in the middle of week two. Got my big coffee today. For some reason, I woke up a little early today, so I thought I'd get this done before I hit work. Um, so, as of today, we decided to at least suspend in-store purchases and that stuff. So that's happening. So we're doing online orders, encouraging customers. We're gonna keep our live videos going, stuff like that. So that stuff will still be going, and um, looking at cash flow and stuff. We should be looking pretty good for a little while. Looking at it right now, my master spreadsheet, and yeah, we're gonna play it week by week, and see where all that goes. Um, so I've been kind of monitoring social media just to kind of see what other uh, businesses are up to. There's been some really good articles on how people are the strategy, stay open during these times and stuff like that. And I came across last night a thing from Forbes, which talks about. I'll put the link in here after I'm done. Talks about business strategy um, through four phases of the coronavirus crisis, and talks about you know waiting for major you understand the major impacts. How do you withstand the initial impact of what's happening? How do you return to normal? And then sorting out the new industry dynamics. And really what that means is when this is done, are people going to change their behavior on how they do things? Sorry. And what was interesting about that is I had this is one of these famous quotes. I don't know if it's famous, but it's a quote I've used in the past, and I'd totally forgotten about it until I read this article. And one of the guys who used to work with me, I think he loved this quote too that I used, and we talk about uncertainties, and this is from Donald Rumsfeld, and he had said, "There are known knowns, there are things we know we know. We also know there are unknown unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know, but there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know." And I think that's for business owners and for everyone else out there that has a job or relies on somebody for a paycheck is what are the unknown unknowns? We just don't know what those things are. And um, and then what it says about unknown unknowns is we're likely to be surprised many times during the crisis, but you can gain visibility into the future through building industry specific scenarios and wargaming how you and competitors will respond. And I think I've been doing that just constantly over the last week and a half is constantly running through scenarios of how this is going to play out. Looking for the scenarios that are favorable for you, looking for the scenarios that are favorable for everyone else. So no, that was really good. I'll post the article there. Um, so I guess just we kind of posted we had pretty good response from customers and stuff yesterday on the closing. Just people weren't coming in, which I think is good. It shows that they're staying home. Um, People really responded. I had a bunch of online orders yesterday, which really helps. Every dollar you can get into these small businesses, whether it's ours or somebody else's, is keeping people paid and stuff like that. Um, and so then Amy and I put out a note on social media last night, just letting our customers, consigners, employees know that we appreciate what they've done, and we're going to do our very best to keep the remaining full time staff paid, even though we're closed. We still have some processing to do. They're not going to be working the 40 hours a week, but we're going to pay them as close to full time as possible during this time, keep benefits going and stuff like that. Talked to one of our laid off employees yesterday. Um, they're doing good. She gave me an update on what she was getting for unemployment and stuff. And the good thing is it was fairly comparable to what she was getting from us. It wasn't as good, but once you throw in, benefits, we're probably shouldn't say this. We're providing that it'll be good. So it'll work out short term. We did go in yesterday to. We are debating actually whether to do some capital projects while we're closed. I read something last week about when you're closed, this is a good time to do things. Get work done that you didn't have time for and stuff like that. And since we're gonna be closed, there are basically two projects. One is to do some painting at the loft, and I think we're going to go ahead and do that. I mean, that's a minimal expense, a few $100. We're paying for staff anyway, and so we can have them come in and do some painting. The other one's a little bigger one. It's just replacing we have a design from our designer to redo our AIM store. Well, so that was going to be in process here over the next few months, was to do a remodel of the AIM store, and that's kind of on a hold right now. And then also do another expansion out in Ankeny, and we are almost ready to sign everything for that. And this whole thing came to pause, so we had to pause that home for a few months. But the other one is to just replace a bunch of slat wall in Ames, do some trim work, some painting. We have a sign that we ordered that has a brick. We have to put a brick on the wall and then put the sign up. So we're going to run some scenarios and see if we can, spend that's probably a $800-900 expense there. So is it worth it to do that while it's closed? And get that done so when we fire back up, things are good. So again, got up early this morning and don't know why I couldn't sleep. Got up about 4:30 and went to bed at 10:30, I guess. But and then every morning, I try to have an app on my phone that I try to read. It gives me a few verses and stuff of the Bible and things like that. And a lot of times I just kind of read it, say that's nice. But it was interesting today. It was 2 Corinthians 9 came up as the verse of the day, which I found kind of, this stuff gets freaky sometimes, but it said, since God loves you, he is able to give you more than you need. You will always have every good thing you need for yourself, and you have enough to do many good things to help other people. Then it goes on and says, he has shared his things with many poor people. God will always remember how kind that person has been. I thought that was fitting. We're trying to be as generous as possible in all this. And I had another. So we're trying to do that. But also, as people that own businesses know, you also have to take care of yourself as best as possible. And we're doing okay. So I'm not concerned about that stuff. What goes through your mind is, okay, you have so much assets sitting there, and you got to be careful not to get too selfish. So that's why we have a plan on, how much stimulus we want to give ourselves to keep things going and stuff. And, we have that number, and as long as we stick to the number, and if this thing rolls out of here, we're hoping this panic and all this other stuff just gets done in the next 4 weeks or so, and then we can get back to business as usual, and everyone else can start getting back to business as usual. So, hopefully there's always going to be surprises, the unknown unknowns, right? So we'll see where this thing goes over the next couple weeks, but I'll check in tomorrow. If I come across any interesting articles and stuff, I'll note those tomorrow. But otherwise, we're doing good, and hope everyone else is doing good. And let's spend some money if you can, and let's all keep things rolling out.